Alrighty, so News of the Week episode on this Wednesday evening, and this is going to be a relatively short News of the Week episode because as we're now heading into the stretch run of the playoffs, there's not going to be a lot of transfer rumors and signings, especially with the way that the roster freeze is about to happen in MLS. But the biggest news that happened this week, well, actually, before we talk about probably the biggest signing of this week, we have to, of course, mention the biggest kept secret that everybody probably saw this coming, and that, of course, is Mauricio Pochettino finally named the new head coach of the U.S. men's national team, and it will be official that his first game in charge will be in the next international window. And I gotta say, he's got a lot of work to do. I mean, he after seeing how the U.S. play in these two friendly between New Zealand and Canada, yeah, let's just say that it was not inspiring whatsoever. And obviously, as it is the case. I'm pretty sure a lot of doomers are basically out here complaining about those two resorts, especially the Canada resort, because that was kind of a historic moment for Canada getting their first win against the U.S. in American soil for the first time in over like 50 plus year. But yeah, there's no doubt that as much as I did kind of pay attention to those games, I didn't really have too much expectation knowing the fact that Pochettino still isn't there, and it feels like this international window is kind of like a stopgap kind of period. But seeing how the team played during these two games in this friendly, yeah, like I said, it's safe to say that Pochettino has got a lot of work to do in terms of this team, and we'll see whether or not if it will pay dividend, especially heading into these next couple of windows. And one thing that I will also say is that I'll definitely give him some time. I know that might not be something you usually say to a head coach that coached the national team, especially with the fan base being very impatient when it comes to their head coach and basically jump to conclusion in the first hand. But because of the fact that the U.S. don't really have a lot of meaningful game, I mean, you still have the Gold Cup, but it's the Gold Cup. The expectation obviously for this team is when they do play in home soil. I mean, not only they have to move on into the next round and don't actually get grouped like they did in Copa America previously, but they're expected to go deeper in the World Cup, especially with it being on home soil. And again, with the talent that the U.S. of course had, I do think that the right head coach and especially the right tactics will get the best out of this team. And I do believe Pochettino is that guy to do so. Now, this is maybe being a biased Chelsea fan, but I did see him play doing his time with Chelsea. And while yes, the resort was inconsistent, you got to remember that was a team that basically had a lot of players on that team, and that eventually he did get things going in the latter stretch. And I think that's going to be the case here as well. But again, it will be very interesting to see how he will do at least in the beginning. And if he doesn't do well, I'm not going to panic just yet, even though I know there's going to be a lot of doomers that say, well, yeah, maybe we should have kept Greg Berhalter. No, we should not have kept Greg Berhalter. But anyway, now moving on in the next news. So the biggest news came out this week is the Colorado Rapids. Man, do they love signing former U.S. men's national team player or guys that are no longer part of the national team, or guys that made their dream move to Europe and it didn't quite worked out, and now they're coming back to the States because now they have got Reggie Cannon off of free agency. So Reggie Cannon, of course, he got that dream move a couple of years ago after breaking out with FC Dallas. He went to Vista, which yeah, that was not a good team for him to choose because that team, of course, got bankrupt, and there's even a lawsuit. I think it's probably now settled, the fact that Dallas will receive some money out of that transfer, because for a long time Bovista was so broke that they actually didn't even give FC Dallas any transfer money in terms of the transfer of Reggie Cannon. But one thing for sure is that at least the Rapids don't have to worry about that because they got him off free agency. And yeah, we'll see how he's going to do with this team. I mean, one thing I'll say about the Rapids and what they have done so well is the fact that a lot of these guys that used to be playing for the national team, I think a lot of these guys definitely are more hungrier to try and to not only do well with the Rapids, but also get themselves a second chance of playing themselves back into the national team conversation. I mean, I mentioned about Stefan, of how, I mean, this year, if you don't look at how he's done in MLS, he's actually done pretty well when it comes to the leads coming in some sort, and even Georgi Mihailovic having a really good season for the Rapids. He's been a linchpin to that Rapids team and has already been called up by the Olympic squad as well. So there's a chance where, if Reggie Cannon he's able to do well here, he might play himself back into the national team conversation. Maybe even get himself a big move to Europe as well. But I like what the Rapids are doing in terms of getting these guys, because these guys are hungry, knowing that after a fail move to Europe, they want to be more hungrier than ever to play well so that they can get another European move, or maybe even play themselves back into the national team conversation as Reggie Cannon was a couple of years ago. Now, Charlotte FC, they have signed Ashley Westwood to a new contract extension. No surprise here. I mean, Ashley Westwood, just a really big leader in that locker room for Charlotte FC. And I was kind of skeptical at first when it comes to the signing, but I do think that the leadership that he brings to this team is absolutely vital, and it's no surprise that they decided to sign him to a new contract extension. And then the Portland Timbers is also close to signing a contract extension for their number 10 Evander. And what's also crazy is that there was actually rumored to be a 9 million bid for Evander by a Qatari club. Yeah, it is no surprise the Timbers basically shut that down. I mean, they got him for like $10 million. There is no way in the world the Timbers are gonna accept a bid lower than the amount that they, of course, bought him, and especially of how good Evander has been in this season for the Timbers. The fee's got to be at least 20 or $30 million if Evander decide to or if the Timbers decide to sell Evander. And again, they're working on contract extension. It's pretty close to being done, and when it is done, it's a well-deserved contract extension. He's definitely live up to the expectation, and he's a classic example of a guy that I know there was a lot of expectation in the beginning, and he didn't quite live up to it. But again, when you have these players that are coming into a new league, coming into a new country that they've never been before, it's gonna take time to settle in. And once Evander does settle in, you can see the quality, and you can see why the Timbers decided to pay that amount of money. And it's safe to say that they definitely found the Diego Valeri replacement that they've been looking for a while. And then Inter Miami, they have signed Argentine goalkeeper Oscar Ustavi. Now, I think this is a signing clearly is made because they probably saw what happened with the Columbus Crew just this past weekend, where the Columbus Crew they basically ran out of goalkeeping option. They only had like one goalkeeper because they couldn't sign anybody from their second team on a short term loan because they used up all of that, and the only way they can do it is basically sign them on the first team outright, which the Columbus Crew don't want to do so. And also their second string goalkeeper Nicholas Hagen with international duty, their main goalkeeper Patrick Schultz also on international duty, and their third string goalkeeper Evan Bush has been injured long time. So yeah, that's why you had that situation where they were down to their fourth string goalkeeper and Romero, and that, yeah, obviously that didn't quite work so well with him getting sent off. But yeah, this is clearly Inter Miami seeing that situation and say, yeah, let's try not to get into that situation, because Inter Miami, their goalkeeping depth chart is not that strong. They obviously have Drake Calendar. They did have CJ Dos Santos, but I heard that he's been injured. So yeah, they don't really have a lot of option besides that. So they decided to sign this guy that is kind of used as almost an insurance policy, especially with the way if Drake Calendar is going to be called up by the U.S. Again, as what we have seen before, where he's now Drake Calendar, with him being so good right now with Inter Miami, he's actually now playing himself into the fringe of the national team conversation in terms of the goalkeeping role as well. Now, LAFC, they are set to sign former Barcelona Brazilian center back Marlon Santos. Now, to say that he's a former Barcelona center back is a bit of an outstretch. He only played 2 games. He's been on loan with a couple of clubs. He's been on loan with Nice and also on loan with Sassuolo. But despite that, those are definitely some well known club in Europe, especially Nice. Nice actually has done pretty well in Liga. As well, and knowing the fact that LAFC would always, I mean, I know center back might not be an area that they might be looking at, but it doesn't help to get more reinforcement. And yeah, looks like this deal is going to be complete relatively soon. And then MLS have announced that they have fined Caleb Porter for his post game game comments regarding the referee, and they also suspend him for 1 game as a result of that. Now, this is not a big surprising. I mean, Caleb Porter, when you look at throughout his coaching career, he is not shy away when it comes to referee decision. In fact, there's always a meme about how Caleb Porter is at times kind of bit of a crybaby, and that at times he's kind of whine and bitch about some of the decision that goes against him, and also use some of that as an excuse to kind of hide under the rug of how he's not really performing very well with his current team. And for the most part, it kind of worked out relatively well. But at the same time, I can understand why Caleb Porter was absolutely upset. In fact, this past week we had two legendary post game press conference and post game rant that has happened. The one with Caleb Porter, and then the one with Wilfred Nancy. I mean, I'm not surprised Wilfred Nancy went on a rant. You had a feeling he was going to, after he must be still fuming about the goalkeeping situation. They didn't find Wilfred Nancy for that. Just for those that wondering, although don't be surprised, it might come a little bit later. But they definitely find Caleb Porter, and again, I can understand, because Caleb Porter has been fined multiple times because of this. And when you're a repeat offender, yeah, the league is definitely going to put a bit of a hammer. I would also say the fine that he has, and even the 1 game suspension is relatively light as well. But I can also see why people think that what Caleb Porter said is justified, because, as I said many times before, there's been many problems when it comes to pro referee. I've mentioned it so many times before. There's also a reason why I haven't really discussed a lot about bad refereeing decision, and want to go back into talk about the problem that pro referee has right now, because I mentioned it so many times before. I don't want to keep beating the dead horse, and I don't want to once again go on a massive rant about that and the frustration that is, because I'm just, as many people, well, many fans are, I'm kind of tired of how incompetent it's been. And the only reason why it hasn't been that big of a talking point as much as previous season is because we had the replacement referee that happened in the beginning of the season, and that kind of seems like put the pressure a little bit off pro, because a lot of fans are happy the real referees are back after how bad things got with the replacement referee. But it also doesn't excuse the fact that there's still just some very bad calls that's been going on. I think that game where, the one that Caleb Porter is regarding in terms of the referee and that controversial call on that handball, I've already mentioned before. It is very borderline. I can see that it can definitely go both ways. But knowing this is Caleb Porter, I'm not surprised he sound off because of that decision. And then moving on, in terms of the last two news, that is kind of not related to MLS, but kind of want to mention that Modesto is actually proposing a new soccer stadium for a USL team. Now, if that is the case that Modesto is going to get a USL team, most likely it's going to be playing in League One. I don't think they're going to get a USL championship side. I mean, they're going to get a USL championship side. That's 4 teams. That's going to be in the NorCal region. I think that's a little bit too much in my opinion. And I think it's best that they go to USL League One, because they can create a bit of a Central Valley rivalry between them and Central Valley Fuegos. I mean, those two cities are, I mean, they are kind of far apart, but they are still in the same region, where there's a good opportunity to kind of have like a derby in that as well. And also, I'm not surprised Modesto would want a professional team. Modesto is actually a pretty big city in the Central Valley. People don't know, but that city has about 200,000 people, and that I think especially with the way that I've heard, like, their minor league team, like they're potentially packing their bags and relocating somewhere else. It makes sense, the fact that Modesto would want to get a professional soccer team as well. Another town that I'm thinking in the Central Valley that I'm surprised it hasn't got a soccer team. I'm surprised Stockton hasn't got a soccer team. Stockton is a very big city in the Central Valley region, and that, yeah, I mean, they have a minor league basketball team. They used to have a minor league hockey team. In fact, I've used the groundhog watch that minor league hockey team. I'm kind of surprised Stockton hasn't got a soccer team as well. But I guess if they're gonna have it in Modesto, it's not a bad idea. They're pretty much similar size city. That is, and I know that because I've been there there multiple time, or at least drive by there multiple time. That is. And then the U.S. Open Cup qualifying will now be featuring record 114 amateur teams. So as the U.S. Open Cup is about to come to a conclusion, we're going to start seeing the qualifier round. That's usually the most exciting time, in my opinion, because I get to see a lot of these lower league games, ground hop these games as well. So I'm definitely excited to see that. It's going to start in October and it's going to go all the way into December as well. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at these news from this News of the Week episode. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these news. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. And yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.